Okay, back to where we left off last time. So we're up to Erev Rosh Hashana. So it's like this. The mincha before Erev Rosh Hashana, we say Tachnu at mincha. But Erev Rosh Hashana, in the morning, Shachris, we do not say Tachnu. But the slichas that we say in the morning, before Shachris, then we do say Tachnun. You know, Hashem, Hashamnu, all the various things that we say. So Shachris, basically, Erev Rosh Hashanah, is regular davening without Tachnun. After davening, we don't blow shofar. Erev Rosh Hashanah, you don't blow shofar. In fact, it says, generally speaking, you shouldn't be blowing shofar at all Erev Rosh Hashanah. He says in halacha, pause can bring down, or what happens if somebody needs to practice or whatever, you know, for Rosh Hashanah, so they could do it in a hidden room. They shouldn't blow shofar anywhere, like publicly. Say so. Yeah, but that's only if you must, by the way, not stam. And the reason for that is, in Shulchan Aruch it says the reason is that we should mix up the Satan, that the Satan should think Rosh Hashanah passed already, and therefore he's not going to come in Rosh Hashanah to prosecute against the Jews. That's what it says in Shulchan Aruch. So the obvious question, like we learned many times, the obvious question is, how dumb do you think the Satan is? He could take a look at the Jewish calendar, and he could see when Rosh Hashanah is. You know, he could see when everybody's buying seats for the Yom Tov or whatever. So obviously he knows. What do you mean, Lavis Satan? So the Rebbe explains it in a deeper level. It's not that it means to mix up the Satan that he shouldn't know that he should think Rosh Hashanah passed. What it means Rosh Hashanah passed is like this. Shofar and Elul, we learned, one of the reasons we blow shofar is because you talk a shofar, but if the pasuk says if you blow shofar in the city, the people are not going to tremble. People are going to tremble. Shofar is an awakening. So when we blow shofar the whole Elul, and then all of a sudden, Erev Rosh Hashanah, we stop blowing shofar, in the Satan's mind, not that he thinks Rosh Hashanah passed and he has nothing to come. In the Satan's mind, he thinks, you know what? The Jews woke up already. The Jews are good. To the extent they don't even have to be awoken with shofar blowing. They're up. So they're fine. So therefore, there's nothing to come prosecute the Jews for. And therefore, the Satan sees that the Jews accomplished everything. In fact, it's an interesting halacha the Torah brings down, that Erev Rosh Hashanah, even though it's Yemei Din, it's the age of judgment, which is the reason why we don't say Hallel on Rosh Hashanah, even though it's Yom Tov, but it's Yemei Din, it's the days of judgment. Nevertheless, the Torah brings down, the Shulchan Aruch brings it down, that Erev Rosh Hashanah, before night, you get dressed in Shabbos clothing, and it's a festive atmosphere. Why? Because we're certain that Hashem has definitely accepted what we did in Elul, and is giving us all a very good year. So therefore, we don't blow shofar Erev Rosh Hashanah. But after davening, Erev Rosh Hashanah, we do what's called Hataras Nedarim. Hataras Nedarim means we nullify the vows. Because people make vows very easily. We don't want to go into a new year with a bunch of vows upon us that we didn't keep. So Erev Rosh Hashanah is a minig that you do Hataras Nedarim. Now normally for Hataras Nedarim you need a Bais Din. So minimal you need 3 people, plus the guy who's nullifying the vows. And the din is that the Bais Din has to sit. That's the din, the judges have to sit. But the person who's nullifying the vow, he has to stand. Because really in Shulchan Aruch, in old Shulchan Aruch, it says the litigants have to stand by a din Torah. Today it's not done because people are weaker, so everybody sits. But halachically, in the time of the real Bais Din, in Yerushalayim, that the people had to stand, the litigants had to stand, and the Bais Din sat. So you say Hataras Nedarim. Now, our Chabad minig is, not only Chabad minig, many places, the minig is you do it in front of 10 people. To be Matan Neder in front of 10 people. So then you go in groups of 11. And basically you nullify the vows and you say it. And the truth is you have to know what you're saying. So if you say it in Hebrew, you don't know what you're saying, it's not worth too much. So you can say it in any language. As long as the Dayanim listen and know the language and you know what you're saying, yeah, you could say it in any language. So then the Bais Din nullifies the vow. Now it's a very interesting halacha about nullifying vows. Normally a Bais Din cannot be composed of relatives. You can't have two brothers, or father and a son, or brother-in-law, whatever. You can't have them in a Bais Din. But for Ataris Nedarim, for nullifying the vows, though, you're allowed to have a Bais Din of relatives. So let's say you can have three brothers sitting as a Bais Din to nullify somebody's vow, or a husband and a child, whatever, Because it's a different din of a Bais Din. It's not a Bais Din of it's Preirech Ba'aver B'chal.
And a real Bais Din would that be allowed? What is 10? Just because it's a minion, or
because of a minion? So the Rebbe brings not only our minig, many people have a minig because it should be a minion.
But in a real Bais Din, would you allow to have relatives?
No, unless you mean in a din Torah. In a din Torah.
Not a regular Bais Din.
I said a din Torah. A din Torah you can't have relatives unless if it's called kiblu alayu. If the litigants both accept the relatives as technically you can have two brother-in-laws sitting as a judge with a third guy if both litigants accepted them to be their judges, because if it's kiblu alayu, if they accept it upon themselves, you could take any yukul. That's what it says in Shulchan. It says anybody. What? Yeah, to be a Bais Din, you have to be bar mitzvah, and you have to be Jewish. What?
Technically, if there's a mumcha, would you be able to do it in front of one?
Yeah, but today we don't do it. Nobody has a din of a mumcha. We don't do a mumcha today.
And also in Hataras Nedarim, we say all the Nedarim are going to be even in the future. So why we?
In fact, we say the same thing by Kol Nidrei.
Yes.
Nevertheless, there are vows that are not included in that. A lot of vows are not included because it's complicated dinim of Nedarim. What's included in Hataras Nedarim, what's not. Technically, it says women should also do Hataras Nedarim. They don't because of tznius purposes, but the husbands, when they do it, it also goes for the wives and the daughters and so on. Okay, now, Erev Rosh Hashanah is a day many people have a minig that they go to cemeteries or kivrei tzadikim to daven, not to the tzadik, that the tzaddik should, or the relative should, be a good advocate, a good to better, like they say, to be able to have all good things. So you give extra tzedakah, you go to the mikveh if possible. Okay, with that. Okay, then it says in halacha, it's proper that every Rosh Hashanah, before Rosh Hashanah starts, you should accept upon yourself a new hidur, a better observance of a mitzvah, something you didn't do or you want to do it better. It's good to do that. Not as a neder, it should always be bli neder. What? Whatever, it should be bli neder though. Okay, we mentioned before, like the Torah says, you get dressed up in for the norm for like we do it for Yom Tov. Okay, this year is Shabbos and Sundays. Okay, now when you bench licht, this year it's Friday night, right? So it's not only Shabbos, it's not only Yom Tov, it's also Shabbos. So number one, you can't bench licht late. Technically Yom Tov, you can light candles later from a pre. What? But yeah, Shabbos is no shofar. But we're not there yet. Now, at night, there's a unique custom that Chabad has in the candle lighting of Rosh Hashanah. If you notice, when a woman lights Shabbos candles on a Yom Tov, the bracha is halachic Yom Tov. That's for Pesach, Shavuos, and Sukkot. You don't say halachic Pesach, halachic Shavuos, you say halachic Yom Tov. Our minig is that on Rosh Hashanah, and the Rebbe writes this, goes all the way back from the Alter Rebbe's times, our minig is that they say the bracha lahadik ner shel yom hazikaron. Yom Kippur, the bracha is lahadik ner shel yom HaKippurim. But Rosh Hashanah, there's a Chabad custom, basically, I don't know if anybody else does it, but the Rebbe writes and that's what we do. The bracha of Lich Ben is lahadik ner shel yom hazikaron. But because it's Friday night, so then you have to say lahadik ner shel Shabbos v'yom hazikaron. And also you make shachianu at the candle lighting. But again, especially because it's Shabbos, you have to make sure to light the candles 18 minutes before sundown, and like on a regular Shabbos. And you also make shachianu. both nights of Rosh Hashanah, but we'll learn about the second night when we get there. Now, what happens if a man lives alone? This is what we learned by other Yom Tovim also, but it's relevant. What happens? A man lives alone. Okay, so he's going to be lighting Shabbos candles, and he's going to be making Kiddush. Now, women, when they light Shabbos candles, they make a shechiyanu when they light the candles, right? Yom Tov or whatever. They make a shechiyanu. The men usually make it a Kiddush. Now, what happens if a woman lives alone and she's going to be doing both? She's going to make Kiddush for herself. Or her husband went wherever they go for Rosh Hashanah, wherever. So then, so you don't make twice shechiyanu because shechiyanu is for the Yom Tov. You make shechiyanu once. So when do you make it? Do you make it a candle lighting or do you make it a Kiddush? So the minig is that women make the shechiyanu at candle lighting, not when they make Kiddush. And men who light candles and make Kiddush, they make the shechiyanu at Kiddush because that's the man thing versus the woman's thing. But let's say a man forgot to make shechiyanu at candle lighting, then he doesn't make it again at shechiyanu at Kiddush, because then it would be a bracha in vain, because he already said the shechiyanu and the candle lighting. Okay, now in the 48 hours of Rosh Hashanah, starting from an hour or two before Rosh Hashanah, Rosh Hashanah, a person should be extremely meticulous in saying as much Tillim as possible. It says you're not supposed to, you should minimize any talking whatsoever, and you should say as much Tillim as possible. That goes for at night. It says you're supposed to minimize this, except the Chazan. It says the Chazan has to go to sleep because they need to have a good voice. But other people, if they're possible, they should minimize sleeping. And the emphasis, even though Rosh Hashanah you have to learn, your regular shiurim of learning, you have to learn in Rosh Hashanah. But you should add a lot in saying Tillim. Some people have a custom that they try to finish Tillim at least twice. Why twice? Because Tillim has 150 chapters. Twice to 150 is 300. And the word kapar is 300. Chav Peiresh. So therefore many people have a minig, it's brought down, they try to say Tillim at least twice. Now if you finish twice, you should keep going. You shouldn't stop. Mission accomplished. No, so people should try to say as much Tillim as possible. Okay. 48 hours. 48 hours. Now, first day is, the first day halachically is more important than the second day. Because already the judgment is done already at Tekir Shofar on the first day of Rosh Hashanah. Now this year there's no Shofar on Rosh Hashanah because of the first day, because it's Shabbos. So then, through the brachas of Malchus, Zechrenis, and Shofars, the long Musaf that we have, that basically accomplishes the binyan of Malchus, and Shabbos itself accomplishes what Shofar was supposed to accomplish. So we don't need the Tekir Shofar so much. So therefore, Shofar, by the way, on Rosh Hashanah this year, the first day, because you're not allowed to blow, Shofar is muktzah. You're not allowed to blow it, so it becomes automatically muktzah. Oh, so somebody's saying something.
In the Bais Hamikdash they did have it. In the Bais Hamikdash they did blow shofar and Shabbos, right?
The Mikdash you taken Avalei Medina.
Right.
But there were places that blew on Shabbos. Everybody brings down that the Rif, Ben Yitzchak Al-Fasi, in the back is called the Rif. He was one of the teachers of the Rambam, together with the Rimegosh and Rabbi Yosef, whatever the various teachers the Rambam had. One of the main teachers of the Rambam was the Rif, Rabbi Yitzchak Al-Fasi, and he had a Bais Din. He had a set Bais Din, and he held that any place that has a set established Bais Din would blow even on Shabbos. So it's brought down, the Rif in his shul blew shofar on Shabbos Rosh Hashanah with the bracha, with everything, just like it would be during a weekday. But the Pearl, nobody does that today. The halacha is not like the Rif, and therefore you're not allowed to do it. But in the Rif, there was the exception, or people like that would. Who?
The concern about not blowing is people bring their shofar, or
Yeah, but just say b'migdash are you taken because there was reason hein, they were meticulous in mitzvahs, so you weren't afraid people were going to carry. And the same thing that if held in a place where there's a Bais Din kavua, so Bais Din kavua was a stronghold for people to keep Torah mitzvahs. But there's a very interesting thing, it's getting late, but there's a very interesting thing. According to the Chassidic explanation, why we don't blow shofar on Rosh Hashana is because Shabbos covers what Rosh Hashana does. So why did they blow shofar in the Beis HaMikdash then? If Shabbos covers what shofar did, so why did they blow shofar in the Mikdash? So Chassidus explains there are different levels of shofar blowing. For instance, you have, to give you an example, you have the shofar of Elul, which is Minhag. Then you have the shofar of Rosh Hashanah. Then you had the shofar of Yovel. Then you had the shofar in the Beis HaMikdash. These are all different levels in the blowing of shofar. So the shofar that the Beis HaMikdash accomplished, Shabbos couldn't. So therefore, in the Beis HaMikdash, they had to blow shofar. Outside the Bais Din, Shabbos accomplishes what shofar does, because Shabbos is the concept of tshuva, and Shabbos itself, Shin Beis Sof, is the letters Toshev, which is tshuva. So therefore, Shabbos basically covers, but in the Mikdash they blew shofar because that was a higher level of shofar blowing than outside the Bais Din.